But going back to the major gap between the two different NBA audiences in this whole Trae Young versus Pat Bev conversation is really the impact of a superstar's points per game on the team's ability to win. And Richard Jefferson has sat down with his crew and they spoke about how Mari Stoudemire brought up the fact that players like Carmelo Anthony came to the Knicks and kind of slowed down their ball movement, and how certain star players' production don't necessarily translate into winning. You guys check it out, and every once in a while, I'll check in.
I think it's an observation, not a criticism. I think it's true, right? Like that is like Carmelo was a playoff player in Denver. He's been to the playoffs. It's not like his scoring translates to wins. Now the level of wins and how far they can go is one thing, but you do have to change the style of flow, right? Like same with Luka, same with certain guys that are so good, and Carmelo's one of them. You have to change the flow. Now in D'Antoni's system at the time, and the Knicks were cooking, they were like, can't we get something to add to the flow versus bringing in someone that is a flow changer, right? Rightfully so. Carmelo is that dude. So it wasn't, I don't think that that's a knock. I think that's an observation, right? I've seen Carmelo in the runs, right? So LA runs, Carmelo, like they're all cracking jokes about like who was going to shoot the last shot, and everybody was kind of like, it was like after the game, and like they was like, yeah, some people, and then like 2-3 people looked at him like kind of side-eyeing, and he just, goddamn right, I'm gonna shoot every fucking time, right? Like his mindset, even in the LA runs, were of like, I'm that dude. It's recognized. But for Amari, who played with Steve Nash, who played in the 7 seconds or less Suns, that played in that motion, everybody, the ball just keeps going. That's a very, very different thing. So I don't view that as a criticism.
No, it's not criticism. I think it's a fact. I mean, it is a fact. Playing with Alvin Gentry, who is obviously playing with Amari and Steve Nash and those teams, we weren't 7 seconds or less, maybe 10, but like the ball popping and flowing in specific spaces, and also the emphasis a little bit earlier on like threes, free throws, and layups. So think about D'Antoni, think about James Harden. James Harden is a D'Antoni guy. They are tried and true, right? Same with Daryl Morey. They are efficiency. Carmelo's like, I'm just better than you and can score 50. Fuck all this plays. I don't want to play fast. Give me the ball. Y'all go over there. When I get double teamed, then you might get the rock. But Carmelo's success is because of his skill set that allowed him to be anywhere and score anywhere on the floor. We didn't really have a lot of post plays when I was with Alvin. It was more a screen and roll, and then our read is looking at everyone. So like from the top down, and then where Carmelo's like,
give me the ball,
rock, and then you stand. So your role is more of you don't get as many offensive touches. But on that team, because Amari he's very, very good on the block, but he's way better at screening and rolling, that creates so much gravity dropping the defense down, and now you get wide open jumpers. Melo, you like, well, I might not see this for about a quarter or two, so then I just gotta be ready.
And you guys both know this. Then because of a player's greatness and the way he plays, he is judged, can he turn that into wins, championships? That's it. Can Kobe go be that? That's why those 2 championships after Shaq left. Can he go be that guy and score all the points? Jordan did it. So for Carmelo, it was, I think, the one thing that he's a winner from the national championship, the Olympics, that. But did his style of play lead to championship and championship basketball?
Facts. Yo, Richard Jefferson is cooking right here. That's the importance of Kobe's 2 championships. It really proved the point that Kobe's play style can get to the final pinnacle, especially that championship against the Boston Celtics. That solidified Kobe's spot in just the hierarchy of legends, that he is up there with a certain tier because of him defeating that team. But again, his beef with Shaq was really him beginning to take the reins and just wanting full control of the LA Lakers, and everything good or bad falling on his shoulders with him being a team captain.
It didn't. Now there was draft picks with the Knicks, right. There was all these things, but ultimately you have to prove that your style of dominance can translate to championship.
Which is hard.
Which is hard to do.
And which is something that Trae Young is going through right now. It's been a rocky road just to start off his career with all these changes, not only in the front office, but also with the head coaches and the player personnel. That's why I said this upcoming season, it is going to be huge for Trae Young. He doesn't necessarily have championship pressure, but he has sort of the same pressure to at least have a successful season, whether that be finishing a 4th seed or a 5th seed or even a 6th seed. Even if he gets knocked out in the first round, that will be considered a success, because all that losing that he did in the beginning, getting DeJounte Murray on the team and it's still not equating to success, all the variations they had, all the money they spent, all the draft picks that they traded away, the only consistent part is Trae Young being there. So he looks like the mole right now.
Right? Even LeBron doesn't play that way. Think about how many players play like Kevin Durant, but even Kevin Durant was a souped up version, and he had better teams around him than Carmelo did, right? So it's hard to compare those scores and that style of give me the ball, I'm gonna lead us.
But at the same time, Carmelo kind of had the same issues as Trae Young. For the level of player that everyone perceives you to be, there's no reason why your team is missing the playoffs. In Melo's case, or even getting knocked out in the play-in with multiple losses with Trae Young. Remember, the Hawks entered the play-in as an 8th seed and they lost 2 games in a row. And they have multiple seasons where they got knocked out in the play-in rounds.
Let me ask you a further question. SGA.
Very different.
No.
Is it?
No, it's not. No.
Is it?
Very
No,
different.
no, I'm with you.
Is it?
He's like MJ.
Yes, it is.
He's
But he plays. So playing from the post, right? Playing from the post is a lot different than playing from the top of the key, because when teams help at the boxes and elbows, he's making those shots to Chet, but he's also, number one, getting to the free throw line. He's playing faster.
He's scoring that thing.
They both
He's
scoring.
He's scoring that thing, and
But he's
he's
getting
averaging-
to the free throw line.
And he's playing defense, most importantly. Game 4 of the NBA Finals, OKC was on the road in that third quarter, about to go down 3-1. Nothing was going well for that team offensively. And SGA turned on the Jets and locked up defensively until he woke up in the 4th quarter. That's the fucking difference. We got to ask ourselves, can stars like Carmelo Anthony and Trae Young do the same?
It
So is
doesn't
Melo.
matter.
Wait.
And I'm also going to say this. He's won. So obviously, his shit works. It's different.
But the point is, you have to prove that your style of play can win.
Yeah.
And it's also determined by the players that you have around them. I would say that guys like Shea, Kevin Durant, they have had better teams historically
Okay, I'll give you that.
than Carmelo has, right? But that still falls on, as we've been in locker rooms with Bron and Dirk, the best players know this is all on me.
And even though KD and SGA had better players than you would say Melo or even Trae Young, to a degree, there's no reason why your star is perceived as such a tier that your team is completely missing the playoffs or just completely getting bodied in the play-in. Again, there's levels to this. It's the way these guys are losing. Their seasons are not that far off from a bad team, let's say like the Washington Wizards or even the Detroit Pistons when they were going through their woes, or even not far off from the not serious Charlotte Hornets. If you're Trae Young or even Carmelo Anthony, you shouldn't have multiple seasons ending no different than the LaMelo Charlotte Hornets.
Win and lose, everyone's going to look on me. So it's my job to prove that my style of play can win, right? And that's the part. Shea, Carmelo, exact same. They might have Kobe, Carmelo, exact same mindset style of player.
Okay.
They have to prove that they're 30 a night, they're 29 a night leads to wins. Shea did it. Shea was leading the league in scoring, like all the things. Like that's hard to do as a guard. Multiple years at that efficiency level.
And Kobe didn't really start doing that until after 2006. See, when Shaq first left, 2005, 2006, that's when he was beginning to learn how to frame his game as a leader and making sure that it results in a W. I believe that 2005 season, they finally let the leash off and, he kind of got free reins to go ham and just drop 81 points in a game, just take up a bunch of shots. But then after that 05 season, 06, 07, that's when you started to see the wheels turn as Kobe began to refine his game around the team concept. And in 08, 09, and 2010 is when you kind of seen everything come together in a perfect synergy, and it resulted in championship level basketball.
Right? Don't tell me about free throws. Carmelo was getting free throws. Everybody was. Kobe getting free throws. Shea proved that his 30 a game is a championship 30. There's been 4 guys in the last 30 years that have done that? I can average 30 in the season and go win a championship, win it.
Now, RJ, quick question for you. How many guys averaged 30 a game and it produced a losing season? I bet you there's 10 times more players versus the other way around that you just stated.
An MVP, that shit is different, bro, NBA history. Like, how many people have averaged 30 and won a championship? MJ, was he the last one? I don't know if Bron hit 30. I don't know if Kobe was averaging 30 during those 2 seasons that they won after Shaq. He might have
I
been
think
28.
all 3 of those
Kobe
were like,
was 30.
3 was.
What I know, I'm saying, I know he hit 30, but did he average 30 the season that they won those 2
I would
championships?
say yes.
I would say no.
That was
I would say no too. And also with LeBron going into Miami, Pat Riley actually honed his game in. He averaged less points, assists, and rebounds, I believe, in those Miami Heat years. You fellas could definitely look it up. His numbers were down from what he did in Cleveland. It's not only because he was playing alongside Dwayne Wade and Bosh, he actually had to play within a system in Miami. That's why there was so many clashes when he first got there with Eric Spoelstra, and also that meltdown that he had in the finals. He had to play within a frame, and that was not the case in Cleveland. He was sort of still playing that playground style basketball where everything was centered around him and what he could create out of playing in the wing in that point forward position.
20.
I would say no.
28.
30's a heavy number.
I think 3 of those were Jordan.
That's what I'm saying. 30 in a championship, bro?
No.
That's different world.
So the names of guys that hit 30 points per game and won a championship is Kareem, Rick Barry, Michael Jordan multiple years, and then SGA. So not even LeBron and Kobe made this list. That tells you how difficult it is. Remember, championship level basketball is a team game. And that right there is the major gap between NBA fan bases and this whole Trae Young versus Pat Bev debate.
Hang
Jokic.
on though. Didn't they won a championship in 0203?
Yeah, but he didn't average 30.
Yeah, he did.
Who, Kobe?
Yes.
Oh, shit.
Double check. Keep going.
Wait, is it 2000? No, I'm sorry. They didn't win it in 03.
They lost.
won it
They lost.
01.
Oh,
Yeah, they won
01,
it
02.
Yeah.
So it was the year after.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Perfect example right there, because sometimes there is a correlation of guys averaging too much points to win. And Charles Barkley once had made that reference about Luka when he was averaging, I believe, 36 points per game at a point when he was on the Mavericks. Charles Barkley's like, he's going to have to turn that down a notch and include his teammates in order to win. Kobe has said the same thing about James Harden. It was nice that he was killing it, averaging almost 35 points per game. But he's like, if he wants to win the finals, that play style won't end up working. And I believe Kobe Bryant was speaking like that out of personal experience. As we see, he went through the same thing in the 2003 season.
But that's what I'm saying. That's where I say Carmelo's a 30-point-a-game scorer. Kevin Durant, a 30-point-a-game scorer. Those guys are judged. James Harden, 30-point-a-game scorer. Those guys are judged differently, right? Like, that's what Bron only hit 30 a few times.
So what's the difference then?
What do
Is
you
it
mean?
like, what's the difference between Shea and Melo other than their team? What do you think, like?
The eras are also different. Melo played in an era where the game was much slower and it was sort of worked in from the inside out. And now the game is just from the outside. Everybody's spread out on the floor and the pace is a lot faster. It's really the eras. Players like Allen Iverson, Carmelo Anthony, and just a lot of the heavy scorers of the early 2000s, they would have an easier time scoring today in their primes, but the only difference is they will be going up against multiple guys that are 6'8", 6'7", trying to defend them. That's really the only difference. And these guys are also skilled, so defensively, they would have to step up. You know, just having times on defense where they're sort of, on easy mode, it would be hard to hide them. Guys like T-Mac and Melo especially.
I know, I just
Or you just think it's a team?
This is what I would say. I would say that Shea proves that his 30 a game is in a class of very few people. Carmelo is the same scoring legit, and don't get me wrong, Shea's even more efficient. But I don't think Carmelo had the teams around him. But in basketball hierarchy, what did you do with what you have? We criticized LeBron for going and losing to the finals and getting swept by the Spurs when he was in fucking year 23. We can't absolve Carmelo of the 30 points a game he scored, top 10 all time in scoring, and say, hey, what did you do with that 30 for your teams? And I'll give him some, like, his teams weren't great, but there were opportunities for him to go other
some baller
places.
teams.
He did have, like, again, in Denver, in Denver
Good.
teams,
Oh,
yeah.
Mike.
Also, we should give him a little bit more credit because he played in the most physical era of the NBA, which is, I would say, the late 90s, the early 2000s. The game was so physical that the final scores would be like 75 to like 70 or 69. And it was just not a good television product overall. It was just way too slow. Teams had way too many enforcers who didn't really have to have crazy skill sets. They just had to have brute and strength. And those days are pretty much over.
We're balling.
That was my worst.
Yeah. So then you
You're
start
like,
looking
"Oh,
at, okay,
oh."
defensively, what was Carmelo defensively? Then you start looking at players in other spaces. So I just say the 30-point a game and win an MVP, you put yourself in the class of the Kobe's, of those. Like, there's very few people that have ever done it. We can't put Shea in the same category from like the winning standpoint as a team, but from a scorer, you got to prove.
And RJ nails it right on the head. As a scorer, the burden of proof is on you, and it's definitely on Trae Young to perhaps get his teammates more involved. And the Hawks personnel and coaching staff kind of has to hold him more accountable for his shot selection and just kind of added more versatility to their offense with the three-point shooting. They don't have to chuck up as much. They can utilize more of the mid-range since everyone is so spaced out on the floor. The mid-range shot is actually perhaps more wide open than it's ever been. So hopefully this has been a healthy perspective on just some of the, I would say some of the gaps between this whole Trae Young and Pat Bev beef on social media, because you can see the two NBA fan bases colliding just at two different ideologies. The guys who appreciate the more individual game, just bringing up the points per game, who is Pat Bev to talk, and also the side of the NBA audience where they appreciate winning and they respect it a lot more. They're seeing way too many guys get the name of superstars, but yet they can't even make the play-in.